How to be likable and successful. Don't we all want to be likable and successful? I definitely need to work on it, though. At times, I'm not very likable. A big measure of your leadership abilities and how far you'll go in life is your likability, the likability factor. Are you interested in building brands? I recommend David Acker and this book, Managing Brand Equity. It's a classic. He's a Cal professor and he studies value. And people value people who are likable. Unlikable people, not valued so much. I thought of myself as pretty hot as a consultant one year. The local marketing association, AMA chapter president, wanted me to be president in the following year. And I was this young, arrogant guy, and I felt I was too good or too busy for that, which was a mistake, not very likable. But I was busy with my kids and sports. There's the excuse. And teaching at a local university, another excuse. Anyway, the AMA president asked me to meet with Ries, the expert celebrity marketing expert on positioning. He and his daughter, Laura, wrote the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, which you've probably seen in bookstores. And he was going to speak for the American Marketing Association. The president of the AMA asked me to meet with Al at the Doubletree Hotel on the Columbia River as a future president, and this would be normal that you'd meet with the celebrity speakers when they come in. I've paid for some speakers to come to town, so I knew the drill. As any good speaker, Al wanted to get the lay of the land at the hotel, and it's often a good idea to get up on stage where you're going to speak so you can visualize what you want to do and say, and you're not startled by anything. You don't build your personal brand without being diligent and intentional, and Al was both of those things, but Al was also remarkably likable. And Al did a great job and excelled at being likable. So, anyway, not so likable me, I drive up in my Porsche convertible to meet with Al, and I was obsessed with being happy and successful. And I asked Al abruptly, how can I be successful? I just met him, and he said, I can tell you'll be successful. Me being oppositional type that I am, not so likable, I said, how do you know that? And he said, I can tell. Plus, you already said you wanted to be successful, and I have faith that you can. Later, I met his daughter, and they were pretty much at that point saying advertising is on the way out and PR is on the way in. And guess what? They were right. A lot of ad agency clients of mine lost not just their job, but their whole market segment. Not too many people are employed by ad agencies anymore. Gone are the days of the admin. Someday I'll do a story about admin because there still are quite a few and it is important. And I will come back and it can be helpful to know traditional marketing. I'm sad to learn that Al passed away 3 years ago and I just learned it. But the good news is his daughter is still going strong. And I was hoping to have Al on my podcast. If you know anybody who would like to be on my podcast, let me know. Working on your likability is a way to build your brand equity, effectiveness, and success. And it's not grit or mindset or any of the important things that are buzzing on the internet right now. It's more basic and easier for you to develop so you can have more influence at home, at work, and the causes that you care about. To start with, don't be arrogant like I was and say yes to those volunteer opportunities. There's a Stoic story about Marcus Aurelius, yes, the very likable philosopher and emperor who wrote Meditations. His greatest legacy of likability and wisdom was nearly undone by his own son, Commodus. Marcus poured daily wisdom into his son's ears, but Commodus took the throne and he ignored every lesson given to him by Marcus Aurelius and plunged Rome into turmoil. Marcus didn't lose his philosophy, he lost his influence. Influence is the hidden ingredient in every meaningful relationship, every effective leader, every thriving family. So stick around because by episode's end, you'll know how exactly to improve your likability, what influence is, how it slips, and how to build it back by building your likability. Leadership at its heart isn't strategy or charisma, it's influence. And as John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's why no matter how smart or passionate you are, if people don't follow you, you may be just a talking head, especially if you're not likable. By spending a few hours with you at your job site, I would see how effective you are. I'd look at your planner and see how your plan to grow exists or does not exist. And I would also watch how you care for your team and nurture people and how they respond to you. Because here's the thing, influence isn't guaranteed, it must be nurtured, tested, and protected. Just ask Marcus Aurelius. Why do leaders lose influence? Marcus Aurelius lost it not from scandal, but from neglect. He thought he inscribed leadership into his son's heart. That's mistake number one, assuming influence sticks. Many leaders assume their leadership sticks, but influence slips in three ways. One, inconsistency. You say you care about your family, but did you miss dinner again? Ego. Number two, you teach and want others to learn and you want them growing, but you stop learning and you yourself stop growing. Three, exhaustion. When you're burnout, you lead fatigued and people sense it. Never address the company without pumping yourself up. Be like Ries and get the lay of the land, meet some people you will speak with, and be likable before you even start. More later on why enthusiasm is critical to your effectiveness. Inconsistency, ego, and exhaustion are just the slow leaks. To keep that Roman analogy going, it's like Romans building aqueducts that have leaks in them that are eroding the ground under them. Suddenly, you realize that the empire's gone dry and the aqueducts don't work. If your energy is low and you have a low energy moment, you can talk to somebody that's high energy, a high energy colleague, or go for a 5 minute walk, or combine the walk with a person who's high energy, talk to them over the phone. What is evidence that you might be losing influence in the moment? Watch for these signs. You make a point, but no one responds. Meetings are polite, but not connected. An employee may not look at you when you're speaking, just like when your teenager or family member looks past your talk, not at you. When I coach kids and I want their attention, I ask for it. I cannot tell you how many times I've said, eyes on coach, because I can tell some of my team isn't listening. So it can be the silent retreat. People move away silently. And it's not because they don't love you, they just feel less tied in. Like the title of John Maxwell's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. It takes work to connect. Work on making it real for the entire team and show how they can know they are making a difference. Making a difference is what people want. It's what I want. How are your teammates connected to your goals? What story can you tell to illustrate this? People have evolved listening to stories and not talking head bosses. How do you get influence back? Marcus Aurelius' mistakes show us where to start. One, acknowledge the gap. Say it out loud. I've heard your silence. I take responsibility. Influence comes back when you're trusted more than when you're right. Number two, reinvest relational time. Marcus didn't go to Commodus Games. You've got to show up. No agenda, no pitch. Just show up. Some of the research presented at my leadership events have been from people like Marcus Buckingham, and they show, if you don't know, Marcus Buckingham is part of the ADP Institute and did work for Disney and others. And Marcus, his work shows that you've got to be with your people. And if you cannot do that, you should not lead. Leadership is, in fact, relationship, and it does not get better with no investment in time from you. Three, demonstrate through your action. Stop telling them what to do and do it with them. Influence is caught, not taught. And if you want to improve a culture, improve your behavior with that culture. And if you want some parenting advice, the biggest parenting impact is what you do and not that lecture you give. I've given some great lectures, believe you me, but lectures to your kids don't mean as much as what you're doing. It's because it's so true. That phrase, monkey see, monkey do. Influence is the secret sauce. It's less do what I say, more I'm here, I've got skin in this, I care about you and what we're doing. I'm invested in these goals too. One of the bosses that could get me to pull an all-nighter when projects needed to get done was himself, the type of person that could pull an all-nighter to show how important the project was. If this resonated, if you've ever felt your words not land, your presence feel distance, it's time to rebuild. I help CEOs and leaders reestablish trusted influence and build their brands strategically, relationally, intentionally. So we can do an audit, measure your influence, and understand what is going on with your team beyond the typical 360 review that we can do 360 reviews too. But we build a leader's presence that invites not intimidates. We can help with schedules, accountability plans, and balancing what matters most to you. Consistency, that outlasts charisma. So visit beauleadershipgroup.com and contact me to get started. Now, let's really focus on making you more likable. Remember, it's not just what you say or think, it's who listens because they like and trust you. Get a pen and pencil or however you do your voice notes because you do not want to miss this. And it's so simple. You may discount it if you do not write it down. So write it down. Leadership is about influence. We already talked about that. You don't have to write that down. But likability is the secret ingredient. People buy into a CEO's ideas and buy into salespeople when they like, know, and trust them. I will say that again. Leadership is about influence, but likability is the secret ingredient. People buy into your ideas and buy from salespeople they know and trust and people they like. Huge question. Do people like you right now? My wife likes me, and that's about all I'm certain of right at this moment. But do they like you in meetings? In my case, I've been guilty as a type D personality of working hard to get things done, and I'm perceived as cold and uncaring and not that likable. My competence is fine, my methods are okay, but I failed to connect with staff. Remember that 70% of the regular world wants safety and needs to know what's safe and what's not, and what's in it for them, and how do they avoid stress, and how do they go home at night and feel good about what they're doing, and how do they know they're going to be able to do this easily. Work with them. If they do not like you, 1 in 5 employees actively sabotage the company anyway. They just may add you to the list of things that they pelt and sabotage. So here's a statistic about this from Harvard and Stanford researchers and the Carnegie Institute of Technology. These are old institutions, right? They've been studying leadership a long time. For example, Harvard is the oldest seminary in the United States and even older than the Carnegie Institute of Technology, which was founded by the Scotsman Andrew Carnegie way back in 1900. He was the steel magnet guy, and I think I still remember it was the Bessemer process that made his quality of steel go up. Research from Harvard and the Carnegie Institute of Technology suggests that likability, tied closely to emotional intelligence, may account for up to 40% or more of a leader's influence and effectiveness. Competence gets you in the door, but likability determines how far he'll go. Likability can be more important than a leader's competence in many cases. And if you have read that timeless classic by the other Carnegie, Dale Carnegie, not related to Andrew that I know of, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it should be no surprise that likability is the key to getting things done and influence and being effective. But how do you build likability? I will tell you 3 dimensions, and dimensions is a statistical thing in this case, but it needs to be the warm, lovey-dovey personal relationship dimensions as well. 3 dimensions that you can work on and build your likability easily over time. The 3 areas to cultivate are empathy, enthusiasm, and authenticity. These dimensions are essential for leadership, influence, and meaningful connection. Write that down: empathy, enthusiasm, and authenticity. EEA. These are traits, and they aren't just personality quirks. They are skills you can develop through intentional practice. I know that I have plenty of room for growth on these dimensions. How do you cultivate empathy? You practice active listening, listening to understand, not respond. Don't interrupt. Paraphrase what others say to confirm understanding. Ask deeper questions. Instead of, how are you? What's been on your mind lately? What are you excited about or stressed about right now? Put yourself in their shoes. Mentally swap places. If I were them with their story, how would I feel? Some people, myself included, probably should read more fiction and biographies because this trains our brain to see things through other people's perspectives. High emotional IQ people and high IQ people also read mysteries. Observe body language. Look for subtle signs of discomfort, enthusiasm, or fatigue. Did they cross their arms? They may be less receptive to you right now. You may need to come back and circle back with them. Be curious, not judgmental. Suspend your assumptions and ask, what else could be true? As managers and people, we are often listening to people for why they're right or wrong, but add to that listening how they feel about it. So, right, wrong, it's normal listening. How do they feel about it? Why do they feel the way they feel about it? What's important to them? It's not about whether you agree or disagree with them. It's about connecting. It's about being likable and being a fellow human being. And you can practice this anywhere there are people. So, understanding key employees' disc profile and Myers Briggs so you can better judge when they are under stress can be really helpful too. I can help you with that. I told you we would get to enthusiasm, but how do you cultivate enthusiasm? Reconnect with purpose. Know why you do what you do. Purpose fuels passion. Use your body to prime your mind. Smile, sit upright, use open gestures. My father was a big fan of practicing smiling and shining his shoes so he was ready. Physical posture and feeling good about your shoes shifts your emotional state. Don't cross your arms, show your palms. They've shown that if you walk up and show your palms to the audience, that you're more likable. Share that celebration energy with others, even on the small and little things. Surround yourself with passionate people. Enthusiasm is contagious. So is cynicism. So choose wisely who you hang with. Talk about what excites you. Passion is magnetic. And when it's authentic, it's great. Infuse fun into routines. Music, humor, even competition can energize boring tasks. Never do a major launch or retreat without music or video, is my tip to you. Think about St. Paul. I like to look at the ancient wisdom, the stories that have stuck around forever. And Paul pulled off enthusiasm like no one else, in part because he was in chains in prison and he was still enthusiastic. I've done quite a few concept talks about if you take care of your purpose, takes care of you, especially if you're enthusiastic about it. Imagine this: you've been beaten, betrayed, and locked in a cold prison cell. Again, maybe an analogy for what you're going through right now. I know I've been through some betrayals in my life. Most people would call it a breaking point. But Paul, he called it an opportunity. When Paul sat in that Roman prison writing letters with bruised hands, he didn't whine about the injustice. He wasn't worried about his reputation or comfort. He had one thought about his mission: this will advance the gospel. That was his mission. If he was in prison, that meant the guards would hear the good news. If he was released, that meant the churches could be strengthened. If he was executed, that meant he would be with Christ in heaven and he would be able to say, I did what I said I was going to do and I promoted the gospel. His purpose took care of him no matter the outcome. And your purpose can take care of you no matter your situation. If you have a big enough purpose, your purpose takes care of you. He knew what to do, and that led others to know what to do too. Many people just want to know what to do. Can you help them with your mission? Paul's circumstances didn't shape his enthusiasm, his purpose did. That's why people followed him. That's why his letters outlived empires and are still being talked about centuries later. That's why he wrote with fire, even behind bars. So, lesson: reconnect with purpose to cultivate enthusiasm. Enthusiasm isn't hype. People say, I don't want a raw meeting. Maybe that person doesn't, but we almost all need enthusiasm, and it really isn't hype. And there are lots of studies to back this up. And people that have ADHD are often most susceptible to building enthusiasm for something. And that's part of why they don't want to be in a raw meeting, because you are going to get them excited about the cause. And if they aren't excited about the cause, they aren't going to do the best work. If they aren't going to do their best work, they aren't going to be securing their position with you and in the company, and they may lose their job. So you actually owe it to the person who doesn't think they should be in a raw meeting to have that raw meeting. If you want people to believe in your ideas, don't just sell them a plan, show them a purpose. Passion is contagious, but only when it's real. When you're tired, doubting, or stuck in your own prison moment, don't just ask, how do I get out of this? Ask, how can my purpose use this? Like Paul, you'll find that when purpose leads, peace follows too, because you feel satisfied that you did the work. And enthusiasm is not manufactured, and it genuinely overflows, which naturally leads to authenticity. That's our third item: how to cultivate authenticity. Authenticity. When I worked with Wyden and Kennedy and Nike and some notable clients, I was often asked to research what was cool and authentic. And those things are hard to describe. And I've spent hours and hours working on it. I'm still not that cool. But Because cool and authenticity is so elusive, especially among inner urban youth who buy a lot of stuff, somehow I was hired. And every once in a while I would say, I'm a preppy guy from a small town whose parents had to put a pork chop necklace around my neck so the dog would play with me. Not really. That's sort of a Phyllis Diller joke, if Phyllis Diller. Anyway, I didn't know what was cool or urban cool. And we as leaders, we can cultivate authenticity and build what's cool. How do you do that? Know your values. Define your top three core values. Filter decisions and behaviors through them. So my big one, and I hope you'll adopt it as one of your top five values, is everyone has value. If you don't value everyone, you're probably not a very good leader. So often leaders get into the right and wrong and taking signs that we forget that all people are valuable. This does not mean that people are all valuable to your tasks equally. Clearly, you will have key people that can really get things done and that are really reliable and competent. And you want to spend your time with those people that can move the needle. But that doesn't mean you don't value everybody. Leaders get in trouble when they don't value everybody. And this is something that 100% of grade schoolers know, but somehow we forget as we go along. And then we get in trouble as leaders. Tell the truth kindly. Be honest, but not harsh. Transparency with compassion builds trust. If you hold back and you don't tell somebody, say you may be scared, you don't want to share how you are truthfully planning to be courageous because you're scared. But if you tell people about that and that's true, that it gives you butterflies, it's like leaping off a cliff, and show the reasoning behind it. And when you do that, a ton more people will be liking you. And that's the topic today. So let me have a note when you do something transparent and people tell you how they like that you did that. Share your imperfections, sure, but a little vulnerability is good. I'm not saying you overshare, right? Because it makes you relatable when you do share and you are vulnerable, but you can overshare. I'm an oversharer at times. You probably noticed. Anyway, align actions with your words. People trust leaders who do what they say. A consultant I used to work with used to talk about building an image with the three steps of public relations. And it's stages. One, you announce you're going to take action. Two, you announce it when you take the action. And three, after you take the action, you tell about the action you took. Otherwise, people may be busy doing things and not really see what you do and miss the fact that you actually do what you say you will do. Reflect regularly. Journaling, prayer, meditation can help you to stay aligned with your true self. Say, I don't know, or I was wrong, and show humility. It builds credibility. Another powerful tool is to say, let me think about that important idea that you had, and let me get back to you with my thoughts. You don't have to answer it in the moment. Sometimes people really appreciate that you're going to think about it. Combine all three. When you're coaching, leading, or selling, use the EEA framework, which again is empathy, enthusiasm, and authenticity. It's a framework, EA framework. Write it down. Here's another quick example of how to think about it. Empathy is, I hear what you're going through. Enthusiasm is, I'm excited about what's possible for you. And authenticity is, here's where I've struggled too and what I've learned. Just keep it real and subscribe to this podcast and keep growing your leadership skills. At Beau Leadership Group, we want to blow your lid off of your leadership potential. And one way to do that and get an ROI on your leadership efforts is to work on being likable. I already love you. I'm glad to be on your side. Bless your week. And those you meet by being so darn likable, they love you too.